We can drive to it on the way to church. We can drive to it. We could see a random person standing on the bridge getting ready to jump off onto the interstate, onto the freeway. And we've seen that 3 or 4 times, I think maybe this year or at least in the last 16 months alone. And it just kind of just exacerbates the point that it took they didn't get there overnight. That was a journey to get to that place. So you know what? Out of all the options that I might have or might not have, this is my best one. So I want to speak to the people who are listening and watching who might be at that place in the journey. I know that people say, oh, you know what? Get help, get counsel, go clinical. I understand that, but everybody doesn't have the means to do that or the capacity to do that. It's not as simple as that. Suicide is not a simple situation at all. But I want you guys to speak to it from what you know and what you dealt with. I want to share a real quick story. I'm going to make it really quick because I have to. But there was a time when I was living in New York City. All of the pressures and all the things you think about with the hustle and grind in New York, it's a real thing. A lot of books in the magazines are lies. Not, if you haven't lived there, you don't understand it. But I was at a place where I was on the at a turning point with my music career and some other things that were going on, and some things didn't go right. There was some betrayal, some hard things happened, and I had some thoughts. I had a bottle of pills in my hand. I was getting ready to go ahead and make that big move, take a temporary situation and turn it into something permanent. And only thing that stopped me, I'm not even gonna say it's the voice of God, because I can't even say that. What it was the image of my little sister, I was her best friend in the world. And I saw her and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it to her. It wasn't even about me anymore. So I just can't do it to her. So if you don't mind being transparent, quickly share some stories or some wisdom you received regarding that topic, and then we'll go ahead and move on. Go ahead, please.
I can jump into this one. Um, so I actually was talked off the ledge when I was 18. I had proposed to the young woman I was dating and had been dating for a couple of years, and we were in different states at the time. And instead of us, having a great Christmas together when we got together, I found out she had been sleeping with a guy because she missed me and he was too much like me. And what was supposed to be a celebration of our engagement came crashing down, kind of screwed Christmas for me forever. It's been 25 years. I'm happily married, and it's still like Christmas is still a hard time of the year for me. Uh, but I also, like, I had friends talk me off. I was nibbling on the barrel of a gun, literally. I had friends talking me down, trying to talk me down, keeping me from going that far. But years later, I was in a horrible situation. I have scars on my wrist from where I cut my wrist. Like I've been down this road more than once. And that's the thing about depression and suicidal thoughts with men is it's always there, eating the back of us. We had this dialogue in our head that we would punch somebody else for ever talking to us about. If somebody else talked to us the way we talk to ourselves, we would knock them out just out of sheer pride. I would never let anyone talk to me like that. But we have this running dialogue in the back of our heads for most men. In fact, there are a lot of men. I've seen it expressed a lot on social media recently, where there are a lot of men who are only alive because they won't abandon the people they love. But they have what we would call really settled lives, right? Really thriving lives, but they don't feel that way. And they only are still alive. They're not going that direction because they won't leave the people that they've committed to. That commitment outweighs the self-deprecation and the hate for themselves. And it's a depression to something I've struggled with for years. And it's one of those things that's always in the back of my mind, right? I have two beautiful children who are healthy, loving marriage. And I have days where I struggle every single day to even look at myself in the mirror and like myself. And I have stayed. There have been times I have stayed just because of those beautiful little girls and my wife, because I won't ever abandon them. But it is this sickness in the back of your mind that takes root, because no matter what you tell everybody else, you don't believe you have value. You don't believe that you are worthy of joy, of good things, of happiness. I've had friends accuse me of self-sabotage more times than I can count. They're like, what is your problem? Every time you start to have a good path going, you just do something to screw yourself over entirely. And it's this deep-seated belief that you're not valuable sitting there. And that is gnawing at so many men across the world. And guys, you're wrong. The world needs you. The world desperately needs the man you were born to be. You have value. But I know so many men right now are struggling with this argument in the back of their mind. And the answer is you have value even if you don't see it. Even if you don't feel like it, it's there. Please hear us. You bring value to the world and we need you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Brent, amen, brother. 100%. I love everything you just said, man. That's huge. If I can jump in, I've been there, the same thing, just like you. It's been holding a bottle of pills, and it was going down the hall to say goodbye to my boys that threw me way off and sent me into like convulsions type of thing. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get deep into the faith talk right this second, but I mean, I'm pretty sure that God saved my life that night, but it was decided. It was over. I was almost cold about it. I wasn't even upset anymore when it happened because it had just been so long and been building for such a long period of time. And there was so much. It's like when you're underneath that pile of everything, I mean, you almost don't feel anything anymore because right? I mean, it's just, you're at that point. And so you say, look, I'm just done. But, in terms of what we would say to the folks who are watching, and to each other, it is the people you leave behind. It was my boys and what would happen to them the next day and for the rest of their lives. And I was like, look, no matter how bad this gets, I can't do that to them. I mean, I spent all this time trying to make things right for them. I'm upset because I can't give them what, we had lost everything. I'm upset because I can't give them what I want to give them. Now I'm going to ruin their lives. What the hell have I been fighting for then? So I just wanted to throw that in there. Totally agree. And I really think that it's the focus on the folks. But
Wow.
Kevin, real briefly, please. Go ahead.
Wow, that's good. I'm gonna add on to that real quick. Yeah. I think our kids, man, when we look at our kids, our family, wife, we have something to live for. I remember 2019, after going through a massive storm. Anybody that heard about Hurricane Dorian? Hurricane Dorian sat on us for like 3 days. We losing everything. We had to transition to another place so quickly. Life changed, like things that take you 30 years to build, just like that. Everything just gone in 30 minutes. So when I got here to the US, I slipped into depression. But when I look at my life, like I didn't have nobody around to vent to, but I keep looking at my kids. I keep looking at my daughter. I keep looking at my son. And I say, man, if I give up, they will suffer. So they're the reason why I kept going. But depression is real, especially when you come to a place where after losing everything, you don't see a reason to live anymore. You don't see a reason to live anymore. You just want to give up. You just want to give up with life. You have no reason. You don't feel like you belong. So every time I would look at my kids, I say, man, they're the reason why I have to stay. They're the reason why I have to stay. So I can say for me to not slip into real depression to the point where I wanted to get suicidal. I think it's when I look at my kids, I say, yeah, they're the reason why I have to continue to push forward.
I love it. Thank you, Kevin. Go ahead, Aaron.
It's really interesting that all of you guys have just explained the exact same story that I have as well. On paper, if you looked at my life several years ago, I had a wife, I had a kid, two kids. I had an amazing blue collar job in the film industry. On the outside, everything looked amazing. I owned a home. On the inside, I was absolutely drowning. I was drowning because I wasn't living the life that was really meant for me. And like you, Yusuf, and Rory, and Brent, and Kevin, and DL, I nearly took a bottle of Xanax and thought to myself, I'm just going to down all of these and never wake up. And the thing that actually, for me, what stopped me, the first thing that came to mind was an image of my 2 kids downstairs in the living room laughing and playing Uno. That image literally stopped me from lifting that bottle to my mouth. And that led me to making one of the biggest decisions that I've ever made in my entire life as a man, was to put myself into the hospital. So I checked myself into the behavioral health unit at UCLA Medical Center. And that was one of the hardest things that I could have ever done. But Brent, I want to actually talk about something that you mentioned and reiterate, is having a mission. I had to go through that experience in order to understand that my true purpose in this world is to tell that story, is to let other men know that you don't have to do this stuff alone. We all have had that same story. You all just explained that same story. We all are here together talking about this because we've had that same experience. That means that we are not alone, and that anybody else out there that's talking about this doesn't have to go through that alone. And hopefully, maybe somebody out there will listen to this and they'll make that same decision, and they'll go ask somebody, hey, I'm really struggling. I need some help. That's all I got.
Thank you, Sheldon. That's good. This topic is it's a weird one because every time I hear it nowadays out here in these streets, it never seems to be associated with men. I'm like, okay, we got a self, we need care, but when I hear self-care, it's always about women going to get mani-pedis or hot tubs or cucumber facials or whatever. But self-care applies to us too. I love to hear what you guys think about self-care. How do you do that? If you're not doing it, why aren't you doing it? So anybody can jump in popcorn style like before. Go right ahead.
I can jump in on this one because I just did a whole episode on this, honest to God, on my podcast.
Come on, man.
Talking about men need hobbies. With the growth of hustle culture in our society, on top of this inherently from birth taught we need to provide, men no longer have hobbies. And if you look generationally, it starts to step down. Men don't do anything that doesn't have some kind of payout on the other side. Right? I had this discussion with my friend. He's like, well, I go to the gym. I love going to the gym. I was like, no, you go to the gym because you're trying to get your health under control. This is about your health. It's not like, I'm a gym nerd. I know so much about exercise. I could bore you guys for hours. I'm the guy who reads 1,000 articles on bench press to look for the nuances between the best bench pressers because I truly love the subject. But I was trying to explain, it's like, I love it. I do it because I love it. You do it for your health, right? The minute we do it because it's giving us something, right, where you can put a penalty or, oh, I feel bad about not doing this, or if I don't do this, I'm right. The minute there's a ramification to not doing it, it's no longer a hobby. Right? Men used to go in their garages and work on their car that they loved, or do woodworking, or spend time just fishing for fun, or right. All you got to do is look back through history. Men used to have hobbies, but now, if what we're doing doesn't yield some kind of financial or physical return, we don't see it as valuable anymore. And with the decline of having hobbies, our mental health has gotten worse and worse and worse because we don't have a creative outlet that has no ramifications.
Wow. Okay. Love that, man. Who's that?
That's so good. Can I say something?
Go ahead real quick, Kev.
I'm gonna say something real quick. The other day I was me and my wife who was having this conversation, and I was like, "Baby," I said, "You realize that it's only about work. It's only about work. It's only about making money. Nobody take time to care for themselves, and I believe that's what lead to a lot of people like going to sleep and just didn't wake up the next day because they didn't care for themselves, to where they more care about the bills, they more care about just the lifestyle of living. And I think that as men, especially as men, we grow up to just knowing, okay, we got to take care of our family. We got to make sure put food on the table to the point where we don't step back to say, you know what, let me take care of myself. Let me see if I'm well, if I'm okay. And I think self care is important in this season because I believe that, there's a saying would say, if you don't love yourself, you can't love nobody. And I don't believe I believe that if you really don't care for yourself, you can't really care for nobody else, to be honest. You can put a persona or fake it as much as you can, but the time will come where it will explode to the point where, okay, I never had time to take care of myself. I'm trying to take care of everybody else and trying to make everybody else happy. And what I want to say is that as men, if we don't take care of ourselves, we don't make ourselves happy, we don't take time to just, pause for a moment and say, you know what, let me just put away everything and just focus on me for a moment, you know, sometimes that alone, that's what can lead to all these things we already talked about, depression, that's what I want to say. That's all I wanted to touch on.
Thank you, sir. Aaron, were you going next, man? You had your mic off.
Yeah, I got a couple of great things here. First of all, Kevin, you're touching on something that I was going to say is you got to fill your own cup up before you can start giving to other people. You can't show up for your friends or your job, your parent, your family, your partner fully without filling yourself up. And I think personally, we're very physical beings. We got to move our bodies in one way or another. Like Brent said, it's either going to the gym, running, playing basketball, doing anything to physically move your body that will then help you move it through emotions. I think hobbies are also amazing. One that I have a couple of hobbies. I'm a solo parent, so it's really hard to make time for hobbies. But those become non-negotiables for me because I know that if I'm going to show up for my kids the way that I want to, I need to go do that for myself.